If you spend like more than 5 minutes on social media these days, you're almost guaranteed to see one of those videos promising the impossible.
Oh, yeah. The ones with the luxury cars in the background.
Exactly. Someone is standing there pointing at the camera and they're saying, you can completely change your life in exactly 7 days. Just follow my secret routine.
Huh. It is a great pitch, right? I mean, it really works on us.
It does,
Yeah.
because we all want that fast transformation. But today, we're actually going to show you why chasing that overnight success is the exact reason you might be failing, and why your brain is actively working against you when you try to rush it.
It is a massive trap. We are exploring the psychology of human behavior today. Specifically, why the real power to change your life is hiding in these tiny, seemingly insignificant daily actions.
Right. But before we get too deep into that, I am so happy to welcome you all to the Coffee English podcast.
Yes, welcome everyone.
We are so glad you are here. And just a quick note for our listeners, this podcast is mainly designed for English learners at like a B1 or B2 level.
Right, though really anyone can listen and enjoy it. The ideas we're talking about apply to all of us.
Absolutely. So, as we were saying, we're diving into why slow progress is actually the most successful kind. And we'll look at the biological trap of motivation and how our quiet routines literally rewire our brains.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start right at that gap between what we expect to happen and what actually happens when we try to build a new habit. Why are our brains so easily tricked by immediate results?
What's fascinating here is that our brains are biologically wired for immediate feedback. I mean, if we look back thousands of years at human evolution, our ancestors lived in a very immediate environment.
Like finding food right in front of them.
Exactly. If you found a berry, you ate it, and you got an immediate spike in energy. Survival depended on those quick, short-term rewards. So today, when you make a small, positive change...
Like, say, deciding to go to sleep 30 minutes earlier.
Right. Your brain expects an immediate payoff for that effort. You wake up the next morning, look in the mirror, and your brain basically says, well, I don't feel entirely different. My life hasn't transformed, so let's just stop doing this.
Yeah, the action just looks completely unimportant in the moment. Going to bed at 10:30 instead of 11 doesn't feel like a life-altering event.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
But if you examine the underlying biology over a long period, the results are dramatic. I mean, months of getting 30 extra minutes of sleep every single night fundamentally alters your baseline energy levels.
Oh, wow. So it's quietly working in the background.
Precisely. It gives your body more time for cellular repair and deeper REM cycles. Your daily mood stabilizes, and your ability to focus sharpens. The change is profound, but it operates under this principle of invisible progress.
Invisible progress. I love that. It's like the difference between walking on a paved road versus hiking through a dense jungle.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. When you start a new habit, your brain has absolutely no established pathway for it. You have to take a machete and physically hack away the thick branches just to take a single step forward.
Yeah, and it requires a massive amount of cognitive effort.
Exactly. And when you look behind you, the path still looks super messy. You feel like you haven't really gotten anywhere.
That is a brilliant way to visualize what neuroscientists call neuroplasticity. Because your brain physically changes its structure based on what you do repeatedly.
Really? So the jungle actually changes.
Yes. The first few times you hike that jungle path, it is completely exhausting. But if you walk that exact same path every single day, you trample down the weeds, the dirt gets packed down, and eventually you have a paved road.
And once it's a paved road, you don't even have to think about walking on it. You just glide right through.
Precisely, because the brain wants to save energy. It turns repeated actions into automatic neural pathways. The tragedy here is that people quit while they are still hacking through the jungle.
They just get tired of swinging the machete.
Right. They mistake the slow, exhausting process of building the pathway for a total lack of success. They think, well, this is happening too slowly, therefore I am failing. But in reality, slow usually means permanent.
But wait, isn't motivation what gets us started in the first place?
Oh.
I mean, why do so many people fail by relying on it? It got me to buy the running shoes, right?
Motivation is a fantastic starting mechanism. It is the emotional spark that pushes you to buy the shoes or sign up for the language class.
Right.
But a spark cannot keep a house warm all winter. Relying completely on motivation is a massive trap because emotional energy drains extremely fast. Motivation is tied to your emotions, your stress levels, how much you slept, and, even your blood sugar.
So if I rely on motivation to go for a 20-minute run every morning, Then every single morning I have to wake up and have a whole debate with myself.
Yes, the classic internal debate.
Like, do I feel like running? Is it too cold outside? Did I actually sleep enough?
And that internal debate requires something called decision fatigue. Every choice you make in a day burns a little bit of cognitive energy.
Oh, man. So I'm just draining my battery.
Exactly. By having that debate with yourself at 6 in the morning, you are burning precious energy before your day has even really started. This is why habits are infinitely superior.
Because you skip the debate?
You bypass it entirely. Once that morning run becomes automatic, once it is that paved road we talked about, you don't ask yourself if you feel like running, you just put your shoes on and go.
Yeah.
It requires almost zero emotional energy.
So the fundamental truth is that consistency matters. Consistency builds the paved road, and motivation just points you toward the jungle.
That's a great way to summarize it. Regular, automatic effort creates a structure in your life. And that structure holds you up even when the emotional spark completely disappears.
Which happens to all of us.
Absolutely. During periods of high stress at work, or maybe in your personal life, your motivation will literally drop to zero. You simply won't have the biological energy to feel inspired.
But if the habit is automatic, you just do it anyway.
Yes. If you have built a foundation of small habits, that consistency provides a safety net. You lean on the automatic structure you've built without needing to feel inspired.
That concept of structure feels more critical now than ever before, honestly, because the modern world is essentially maxing out our cognitive load by default. We are constantly overwhelmed by information.
We really are.
Which brings up how these small, consistent routines directly impact our emotional well-being and our mental health overall.
Yeah, because we traditionally frame habits around physical health or productivity, right? Things like losing weight or learning to code.
Right, the things you can measure easily.
But the quiet habits are what genuinely protect our mental health. Your brain is currently processing news, text messages, advertisements, and social expectations at a rate that human beings were never evolved to handle.
I literally feel that brain overload physically sometimes. It's just this buzzing in your head after staring at a screen for 3 hours.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
You can spend an hour mindlessly scrolling through a social media feed, and without even noticing it, your baseline anxiety goes way up and your mood is completely ruined for the rest of the day.
That buzzing sensation is cognitive overload. Your brain is trying to categorize thousands of rapid-fire data points. And to combat this, we need quiet habits to act as mental anchors.
What kind of quiet habits?
Actions like reading 10 pages of a physical book, writing in a journal for 5 minutes, or just taking a walk without any headphones.
Just giving the brain permission to focus on one single thing for a minute.
Exactly. It creates a boundary. And nowhere is that boundary more critical than in the first 30 minutes of your day. How someone starts their morning sets the biological and psychological tone for the next 15 hours.
Oh, let's talk about those first 30 minutes, because I know so many of us accidentally sabotage ourselves before we even get out of bed.
It is incredibly common.
Right. The most common modern habit is waking up, reaching over to the bedside table, grabbing the phone, and immediately checking notifications.
To understand why that is so damaging, we have to look at the mechanism of dopamine. We often think of dopamine as the pleasure chemical, but it is actually the chemical of anticipation and craving.
Really? So it's about wanting something, not necessarily liking it.
Precisely. When you grab that phone, the visual cue of the screen triggers a massive dopamine spike. You are instantly flooded with stressful emails, demanding messages, or upsetting global news.
And you haven't even had a glass of water yet. Your brain is suddenly forced to process a stressful email from your boss while you are still lying on your pillow.
Yeah, and your nervous system goes from a state of deep rest instantly into a state of defense and reaction. You are essentially telling your brain, the world is an emergency, within seconds of opening your eyes.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. Now contrast that with the simple habit of keeping the phone in another room and avoiding screens for the first 30 minutes after waking up.
Which is a tiny action that costs literally nothing.
Nothing at all. But it allows your nervous system to wake up naturally. It prevents that immediate spike in stress hormones like cortisol. That small protective boundary leaves you feeling significantly calmer and more grounded for the entire day.
That makes so much sense. You know, if the brain's baseline is just trying to save energy and avoid stress, it's obvious why we fall into bad patterns. Which actually brings up a slightly terrifying realization.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if small positive actions compound quietly in the background, bad habits do the exact same thing, don't they?
They do, and they operate under the exact same biological rules. Small, unhealthy actions repeated daily create massive damage over time. And because of the slow pace, we remain completely blind to the deterioration.
It is that invisible damage, like a few nights of poor sleep, a little bit of constant stress at work, eating heavily processed food because it is fast, endless scrolling on the couch.
Right, none of those things ruin your life on a Tuesday.
Exactly. You don't wake up Wednesday and think, oh, my life is over because I ate a bad meal.
But run that pattern for 2 years, and the results are devastating to your physical and mental health. The danger lies in understanding the trajectory of good versus bad habits.
How so?
While a good habit, like lifting weights or studying, is difficult and uncomfortable in the short term, the reward is delayed for months. A bad habit is the exact opposite.
Because it offers immediate pleasure.
Exactly. It offers short-term comfort. Eating junk food or skipping a workout feels deeply comforting and rewarding at the exact moment you do it. Your brain gets an instant hit of cheap dopamine. The pain and consequences are delayed for years.
Short-term comfort. Man, that explains so much about procrastination. We aren't just being lazy. We are following a biological imperative to seek out immediate comfort and save energy.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the evolutionary psychology of procrastination is fascinating. In a harsh, ancient environment, conserving physical energy and seeking out high-calorie comfort was a brilliant survival strategy.
It kept you alive.
Exactly. But in the modern world, where comfort is available 24/7, that exact same biological drive becomes destructive. If we aren't incredibly careful, we end up living on autopilot, just following the path of least resistance.
We just surrender to short-term comfort.
Yes, and we become entirely unaware of the destructive patterns shaping our lives.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. If we look at the sheer math of compounding over time, we can actually see how to use that automaticity to our advantage.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's take language learning as an example, which is perfect for our listeners. If you tell yourself, I'm going to learn 5 new English words today. That sounds so tiny it almost feels pointless, like 5 words. Who cares?
The brain naturally dismisses it because it doesn't look like a massive transformation.
But mathematically, if you simply repeat that tiny action every day, in 1 year, you have learned over 1,800 words.
Wow.
Right. That is thousands of words in a relatively short time. That is enough vocabulary to hold a solid conversation, watch a movie without subtitles, or travel confidently. All from a microscopic action that takes maybe 3 minutes a day.
The power of repetition makes those tiny actions incredibly meaningful because they harness neuroplasticity. But again, you have to bypass the brain's desire for short-term comfort to get there.
Wait, so you're saying I shouldn't even try to rely on willpower to overcome that desire for short-term comfort? Because usually when we realize our bad habits are causing long-term pain, we experience a sudden burst of motivation and decide to fix absolutely everything at once.
Yes. The classic starting Monday trap.
Yes. We say, okay, my life is a mess right now, but starting Monday changes everything.
Monday's always the magic day.
Always. We say, I'm going to wake up at 5 in the morning, exercise for an hour, study a language, meditate, read 30 pages, and I am quitting sugar completely.
It is a universally human experience. That burst of motivation acts almost like a temporary drug. It makes you feel powerful and capable in the moment, and it masks the actual cognitive load required to make those changes.
Right.
But practically, it is a recipe for disaster.
Because you might last until, like, Tuesday afternoon before your brain completely runs out of energy. The decision fatigue sets in, and you give up on the entire plan.
When you try to change everything at once, you require massive amounts of willpower. And willpower is not a personality trait. It is a limited biological resource. It is like a battery.
So it drains over the day.
Yes. Every time you force yourself to do something difficult or resist doing something comfortable, you drain the battery. This is why starting small, like those 5 words a day or the 30-minute phone ban, works so much better. You are only using a tiny fraction of your willpower battery.
And when you maintain those tiny habits, the psychological effect is massive. Consistency creates self-trust. When you promise yourself you're going to read 2 pages a day and you actually do it for a month, you start to see yourself differently.
You really do.
You think, hey, I am someone who follows through.
That identity shift is the ultimate goal. This raises an important question, though. If willpower is a limited battery, and motivation is completely unreliable, how do highly successful people manage to stick to their habits for years?
That's the big question.
Why do the rest of us constantly blame ourselves, thinking we just lack discipline when we fail?
The self-blame is so heavy, you know.
Yeah.
We internalize the failure and say, I'm just lazy or I just don't have what it takes to be healthy.
We moralize our failures, but the truth is, highly successful people don't possess a magical infinite battery of willpower. They just do something entirely different. They design their environments to do the work for them.
Uh-huh. So instead of fighting your own biology, you change the physical space around you.
Exactly. People blame their lack of discipline for bad habits, but often their environment is actively triggering those habits.
Give me an example.
Well, if you want to stop scrolling on your phone while you work, but your phone is sitting right next to your keyboard, constantly buzzing and flashing light at you, you are fighting a losing battle against your own dopamine system.
Right, because it's right there.
Your visual cortex sees the phone, triggers a craving, and you have to burn a little bit of willpower every single minute to resist it.
It takes an exhausting amount of energy just to ignore a piece of glowing plastic on your desk.
So stop using willpower. Change the environment. Remove the visual cue completely. Put the phone in another room while you work. By removing the cue, you short-circuit the biological craving loop before it even starts. You make the bad habit physically annoying to do.
You are adding friction to the bad choices. And you can flip that to make the good habits incredibly easy by removing friction, right?
Absolutely.
Like if you want to start exercising in the morning, don't rely on 6 a.m. motivation. Prepare your clothes the night before and put your running shoes right next to your bed so you physically trip over them when you wake up.
Yes. Or, if you want to read more, place the physical book directly on your pillow. You are designing a space where the good habit is the path of least resistance.
And we really can't talk about environmental design without looking at our social environment too, the people we surround ourselves with.
Human beings are profoundly social creatures. We have something in our brains called mirror neurons. These neurons literally simulate the actions and emotions of the people around us.
So we just copy them.
We automatically and unconsciously copy the attitudes, stress levels, and behaviors of the group we spend the most time with.
So if you're surrounded by people who are constantly complaining, eating poorly, and giving into short-term comfort, it is going to take superhuman effort to be the one person studying a language and going for a run.
Right. Your mirror neurons are pulling you in the exact opposite direction.
But if you surround yourself with motivated people who value long-term growth, their habits become your baseline. You absorb their attitudes without needing to burn your own willpower.
Designing your environment absolutely includes actively choosing who you share your mental and physical space with.
This has been such an incredibly eye-opening journey into how our brains actually function. Let's summarize what we have covered today.
Sounds good.
We started by dismantling that massive myth of the 7-day transformation and explored how neuroplasticity requires time to turn a dense jungle into a paved road.
We also examined why consistency bypasses decision fatigue, making it far superior to the emotional roller coaster of motivation.
Right. And we looked at the critical impact routines have on our mental health, particularly how keeping our phones away for the first 30 minutes of the day prevents a massive spike in stress and cognitive overload.
We confronted the evolutionary biology behind procrastination, realizing that bad habits use short-term comfort to quietly cause long-term damage.
And finally, we learned that the secret to escaping the starting Monday trap isn't draining our willpower battery, it's strategically designing our physical and social environments to make good habits easy and bad habits hard.
It really covers a lot of ground.
It does. Now, since this is the Coffee English podcast, before we sign off, let's look at a couple of key phrases we use today and provide simple explanations for our English learners.
Great idea. Let's start with decision fatigue. We mentioned that when talking about the morning run.
Yes, so decision fatigue basically just means that your brain gets tired from making too many choices. Every time you have to decide something like what to wear or whether to exercise, you use up some mental energy.
Exactly. So by the end of the day, making good choices becomes much harder. That's decision fatigue. Another great phrase we used was short-term comfort.
Right, short-term comfort. This is when you do something that feels good right now, immediately, but it might be bad for you later.
Like eating a whole box of cookies instead of making dinner.
Exactly. It is comfortable in the short term, in the moment, but causes long-term pain.
And one more good word is friction. We talked about adding friction to bad habits.
Yes, friction basically means making something harder to do, adding an obstacle. If you put your phone in another room, you add friction. You have to physically stand up and walk to get it, which makes you less likely to mindlessly check it.
Perfect
Well,
explanations.
thank you.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
We've talked a lot today about how habits run quietly in the background of our lives, acting either as invisible progress or invisible damage. So take a look at your day today. Think back to when you first woke up.
Okay.
What is the one tiny, completely automatic action you did this morning that is quietly deciding who you will be 5 years from now?
Wow. That is a truly powerful question to carry with you. Because remember, you are not waiting for a massive overnight transformation. You are building a road, one small stone at a time.
Absolutely.
We really encourage you to reflect on the invisible progress happening in your own life. And hey, we would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment under the video sharing your opinion about today's topic. What are your small daily habits?
And we also want to know what you want to hear next. Suggest a new topic for future discussions in the comments.
Yes, please do. And if you enjoyed today's deep dive, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and recommend Coffee English Podcast to a friend learning English.
It really helps us out.
Thank you so much for joining us. It is always a pleasure to explore these ideas with you. Take care, keep building those paved roads, and we will catch you on the next one.